Everybody, it's been a long time for some of you. It's been 20 years, maybe 30 since you've seen me. I used to do a in-home appointment where, I'd meet with you and I'd meet the dogs and the kids. And then COVID happened and then a lot of things were done virtually. So I'm doing well. I'm hoping because I do speak with some of you. I'm hoping most of you are doing, all of you are doing really well and are healthy and keeping alive and keeping out of the craziness that the news wants to portray all the time. Anyway, I made a short video. This is the first time I've done this live like this, and hopefully I can do this in one take. But I'm getting a lot of calls from people that have had these older mortgage protection policies. And they're asking me, should I hold on to it? Should I extend it? Do I still have it? I got a letter that it might lapse soon. And if you remember, I constantly send out these newsletters about reviewing policies. There's a reason for this. It's not so that, you have to spend more money. Sometimes you can spend less money. It just depends on what the situation is. But just like you put oil and gas and water in your car, you've got to sometimes feed your insurance because your insurance doesn't remain the same and everything else changes. Insurance kind of, it does what it's going to do for a certain period of time, especially with mortgage protection. And if that time extends, the insurance doesn't extend with it. So I made a video and I have maybe three or four, I forget, I just did this today. I have three or four slides that I want you to remember. I'll send these to you if you can't remember them, but they're super simple and they'll give you some options on what to do. So basically, we're going to be talking about how to extend if you want coverage when your policy ends, how to extend your mortgage protection policy. Okay. So I'm going to put my glasses on now because you've seen my eyes. Now I've got to see what I'm reading here. Okay, so extending your mortgage protection policy. Let me get my cursor. All right, here we go. Let's get to the second page here. Where is this? Okay, I got to the second one. Okay, so with the mortgage protection policy, they go from 10 years to 15, or you can get a 20 or 25 or 30. Usually 30 is the maximum. A few years ago, AIG came out with a 35. So maybe two of you maybe have a 35-year mortgage protection policy, which is great. The problem is if you bought the policy 25, 30 years ago through me, and it was only a 30-year policy, right? That means that 25 years later, you only have 5 years to go on that policy, right? So if you bought a 30-year mortgage protection policy 20 years ago, you only have 10 years left on that policy. Got it? The policy is not going to automatically extend because you refied or you bought a new home. Okay. So if you did that and you got a lower percentage, great. But your policy is not going to automatically go back to a 30-year because you have a new 30-year mortgage. You might even have 5 years left on your insurance policy with a 30-year mortgage. I think you get where I'm coming from. Okay, so your mortgage policy isn't going to auto renew with a refi or a new home purchase. So just be aware of that. Okay, if you want to extend coverage, you've got three options. Three options. You don't have to write anything down. You don't have to remember anything. I'll send this to you or just call me. Just get this in your head, right? This is the first time, maybe sometimes some people are hearing it. So just get in your head. I'll send it to you if you need it or just call me. Okay, so number one, you can extend it, right? And this is the most expensive way of doing it. If you looked in your policy, your little booklet that they sent you, if you can find it, most people lose them, they can't find it, right? It's weird. It's so weird. 90% of my clients can't find their policy. Look for yours. I guarantee you probably can't find it. If you can, just text me and say you found it, and I'll give you something for it. I'll congratulate you, and maybe I'll give you a Groupon for two for one dinner or something like that. I don't know. Most people can't find it. Anyway, they give you the insurance company gives you an allowance to extend your policy at the end of the term. If you look in your policy, if you can find it, if you can look in your policy on page 4, usually on page 4, you will see that the premium goes insane when your policy ends. So if you have a 30-year policy, let's say you're paying $1,000 a year, that same policy for the same coverage will become something like $50,000 a year for the same coverage. That's called a policy extension. No underwriting, because they don't care if you have cancer, God forbid. They don't care if you're in a hospital after. They'll extend the policy with no medical underwriting because they're getting all this money. Nobody does it, but it's an option that you have at the end of the policy. Okay. So that's the most expensive way of doing it. Number two, policy to a permanent universal life policy. That's easy to do. They do not require any underwriting. And if you are let's say, when you got the policy, if you were perfectly healthy, no medications, nothing, that's called preferred plus. Right now, you could be overweight, you started smoking, you have diabetes, you've got all these illnesses, right? They don't care. You're still a preferred plus. They'll let you have the policy. They'll let you convert it to UL. Yes, it will cost more. Yes, you can convert the entire death benefit or a portion of the death benefit. So a lot of my clients, what they'll do is, let's say, $1 million policy, but it'll be too expensive to convert the full million. They'll convert 250, and they'll have that 250 as a permanent coverage, as opposed to having $1 million, which is going to end and they have no coverage. And then premiums can be the same, depending on other factors, but the premium can be the same if you take less of a death benefit, depending on when you do it. So I always tell people, if you're thinking about converting the policy to permanent, which is a great idea, then do it early, do it now versus waiting until the end of the policy. Why? Because you're going to be older later and it's going to cost more to convert it. I think that's pretty clear. Number three, replace the policy with another policy, right? So the policy that you have now may come from a carrier that was more expensive, right? So now these new carriers are coming in, which may be less expensive. These new carriers may accept medical conditions that your policy did not. These new policies may accept smokers as preferred risk class versus the you have if you're a smoker that accepted you as a standard risk class. So that's all taken into account. I can look for policies that will uh, accept any kind of illness or condition might be in now, 20 years later or 15 years later or what have you. I can look and see if there's another carrier that is willing to take you on as a preferred risk. We don't know. I can't guarantee it, but it has happened and able to do that if you want. So, number one, extend the policy, not recommended. It's available, but not recommended. Convert it to permanent, definitely, if you can do it, but do it earlier than later. And three, replace it with another policy altogether. Okay. It doesn't matter if you replace the policy, they're not going to be mad at you. They don't care, right? This might be another carrier. You simply replace it and you can do, let's say you have a 30-year policy and you've got 5 years to go, right? Great. You can replace it with another carrier that will take you for either another 30 years or 10 years or whatever you want. You've got a lot of flexibility. Now, they will do underwriting when you replace the policy. So keep that in mind. There'll be underwriting done. You may have to take an exam, but it might be worth it because you could be saving a lot of money and you'll have your policy for as long as you want, either 10 years, 20 years, what have you, or even permanent if you replace it. Okay, if you don't care about any of this and you don't want to get coverage or keep your coverage after your mortgage protection has expired or lapsed, then here are your other options. You've got two more. Well, one is obviously to do nothing and then let it lapse, right? Or try to sell it for cash. I've been very fortunate because I have clients that have all of these different policies, and they know that, so I get the best bids for this stuff. So I've sold policies for cash. Some of them are five figures, right? Some of these policies can be six figures, mid six figures. Don't let it lapse. At least try to sell it. If you're over 65, and especially, this is not exclusive, but especially if you have a medical condition of some type, lean on me for this. If you want to get cash for your policy, millions of dollars of term and permanent policies are let go, surrendered for no reason. These A lot of people don't know that a life settlement exists. A life settlement is simply cash for your policy. It started in the 90s for people with HIV. It's still legal. You can sell your policy for cash, and you might be sitting on a gold mine if you don't plan to keep it. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I promised you this would be very quick and short and to the point. If you have questions, now I don't have to read, I can take my glasses off again. If you have, call me, text me, send a smoke signal, email me, whatever you need to do to get in touch with me. Any questions on this, please let me know. I'm still here. I'm still working for you, and I'll be happy to take your calls and questions. All right. I hope everybody is well. I hope you understood that. And I hope understand it, you'll ask me to send you the PowerPoint, the notes from this, or just talk to me about what you want to do with your policy. But don't let it lapse. You put good money into it. Don't let it lapse. Either continue with the coverage or try to sell it if you can sell it. Okay, and I'll help you out. Okay, that should be it. I do a lot of other things, but I just want to stick to the point right now. Look out for my next newsletter. Um, I don't know what it's going to be about now. Probably either long-term care or Medicare or something like that. But look out for it. I know a lot of you have followed my email almost religiously. Hopefully, you're getting this and you understand where I'm coming from. Okay, it's from the heart. It's not about selling you something else. Okay, talk to you guys later.